Ever wondered why a variable returns undefined instead of throwing an error? Or how JavaScript handles nested function calls without losing track? Most developers use JavaScript every day, but few truly master the execution context, the very heart of how the language runs. In this video, we will cover JavaScript execution context MCQ mastery, call stack, hoisting and scope practice questions. Master the core of JavaScript with this deep dive into execution context. In this comprehensive practice session, we are diving deep into JavaScript execution context, hoisting, the call stack, and scope. We have compiled 30 exam-level questions designed to test your knowledge and prepare you for senior-level technical interviews and certifications. Before we begin, grab a notebook and see how many you can get right. Let's sharpen those JS skills. Which of the following components are created during the creation phase of the global execution context? Option A, the variable object, scope chain, and the this value. Option B, the call stack and the event loop only. Option C, the heap memory and the garbage collector. Option D, the bytecode and the JIT compiler. The correct answer is A. During the creation phase, the first phase of the execution context, the JavaScript engine performs three main tasks. 1. It creates the variable object, VO, or lexical environment, which contains function arguments, local variables, and function declarations. 2. It builds the scope chain, which is a list of all the parent variable objects. 3. It determines the value of this. This phase happens before any code is actually executed line by line. What is the result of the following code? Console.log. A, var equals 10. Option A, reference error. A is not defined. Option B, 10. Option C, undefined. Option D, null. The correct answer is C. This occurs due to hoisting. During the memory creation phase, the JavaScript engine scans the code and finds the var declaration. It allocates memory for A and initializes it with the default value of undefined. The assignment, A equals 10, only happens during the execution phase. Therefore, when console.log A runs, the variable exists but has not yet been assigned the value 10. What happens to the function execution context once a function finishes its execution? Option A, it remains in the call stack for future use. Option B, it is moved to the Web API's container. Option C, it is popped off the call stack and its memory is typically cleared. Option D, it is moved to the callback queue. The correct answer is C. JavaScript uses a last in, first out, LIFO, stack data structure called the call stack to manage execution contexts. When a function is called, a new execution context is pushed onto the stack. Once the function returns or finishes, that context is popped off the stack, and control returns to the previous context, the one below it in the stack. This is how JS manages its single-threaded execution. Why does let and const behave differently than var during the creation phase? Option A, they are not hoisted at all. Option B, they are hoisted but not initialized, leading to a temporal dead zone, TDZ. Option C, they are stored in the global object window. Option D, they are initialized with null instead of undefined. The correct answer is B. Variables declared with let and const are technically hoisted, meaning the engine is aware of them during the creation phase. However, unlike var, which is initialized as undefined, let and const remain uninitialized. Accessing them before the line of declaration results in a reference error. This period between the start of the execution context and the declaration is known as the temporal dead zone. In a browser environment, what is the this keyword equal to within the global execution context? Option A, the current function. Option B, the document object. Option C, the window object. Option D, undefined. The correct answer is C. In the global execution context of a web browser, the JavaScript engine creates a global object called window. The this keyword at the global level refers directly to this window object. In Node.js, the global object would be global, but the fundamental concept of this pointing to the environment's global object remains. Which phase is responsible for assigning values to variables and executing function calls? Option A, compilation phase. Option B, memory creation phase. Option C, code execution phase. Option D, optimization phase. The correct answer is C. The code execution phase is the second part of the execution context lifecycle. During this phase, the engine reads the code line by line from top to bottom. It assigns actual values to the variables that were previously set to undefined for var, or uninitialized for let const, and executes function calls as they appear in the source code. What is a lexical environment in the context of JavaScript? Option A, the physical location where the code is written in the file. Option B, a data structure that holds identifier variable mapping and a reference to the outer environment. Option C, a specialized tool for debugging memory leaks. Option D, the internal engine that converts JS to machine code. The correct answer is B. A lexical environment consists of two parts: the environment record, the actual storage for variables and functions, and a reference to the outer lexical environment. This reference is what allows for the scope chain. Lexical refers to the fact that the environment is determined by where the code is physically written in the script. Static scoping. What happens when you call a function declaration before it is defined in the code? Option A, it throws a type error. Option B, it throws a reference error. Option C, the function executes successfully. Option D, the function returns undefined. The correct answer is C. Function declarations are fully hoisted during the memory creation phase. This means the entire function body is stored in memory before any code starts executing. Therefore, you can call a function declaration, e.g., function greet, opening curly bracket ... closing curly bracket, even before its definition in the script without any errors. How does hoisting affect a variable assigned function expression, e.g., var myfunc equals function? Option A, the function is fully hoisted like a declaration. Option B, the variable name is hoisted as undefined, so calling it before declaration throws a type error. Option C, the function expression is not hoisted at all. Option D, the function expression is moved to the top of the global scope. The correct answer is B. When a function is assigned to a var, the variable itself is hoisted and initialized to undefined. If you try to call that variable, e.g., myfunc, before the line where the function is assigned, you are essentially trying to call undefined. Single quote. This results in a type error. Myfunc is not a function. How does the engine look for a variable that is not found in the current function execution context? Option A. It searches the global object only. Option B. It stops and throws a reference error immediately. Option C. It searches the outer, parent, lexical environment via the scope chain. Option D. It restarts the execution context. The correct answer is C. This is the process of scope chain traversal. If the engine cannot find a variable within the current execution context's environment record, it looks into the reference of the outer lexical environment. It continues this process up the chain until it either finds the variable or reaches the global execution context. If it is still not found in the global scope, it throws a reference error. In use strict mode, what is the value of this inside a standard function call? Not a method call. Option A, the window object. Option B, undefined. Option C, null. Option D, the function object. The correct answer is B. In non-strict mode, if this is not set by the call, it defaults to the global object, window. However, strict mode was introduced to prevent accidental global variable creation and other bugs. In strict mode, this remains undefined if it is not explicitly set or called as a method of an object. JavaScript is described as a synchronous single-threaded language. What does this imply regarding execution contexts? Option A. It can run multiple execution contexts in parallel. Option B. It can only execute one command at a time in a specific order. Option C. It ignores the order of code and executes the fastest functions first. Option D. It uses multiple call stacks for better performance. The correct answer is B. Single-threaded means JavaScript has one call stack and can only do one thing at a time. Synchronous means it executes code in order. It moves to the next line only after the current line is finished. While we can achieve asynchronous behavior with web APIs in the event loop, the JS engine itself handles one execution context at a time. Where is the arguments object created? Option A. In the global execution context. Option B. In every function execution context. Option C. Only in arrow functions. Option D. Inside the catch block of a try-catch. The correct answer is B. The arguments object is a local variable available within all non-arrow functions. It is created during the creation phase of a function execution context. It contains an array-like list of the arguments passed to that function. Arrow functions do not have their own arguments object. They inherit it from their parent scope. What is the primary difference between how function declarations and function expressions are handled during the creation phase? Option A. Declarations are stored in the heap. Expressions in the stack. Option B. Declarations are fully hoisted with their body. Expressions are hoisted as undefined. If var are uninitialized. If let const. Option C. Declarations are only hoisted in strict mode. Option D. There is no difference. The correct answer is B. Function declarations. Function X, opening curly bracket, closing curly bracket, are treated as top priority during the memory creation phase and are stored in their entirety. Function expressions. Var x equals function, opening curly bracket, closing curly bracket, are treated like variable assignments. The engine sees var x and treats it as a variable, assigning it undefined initially, regardless of the fact that it will eventually hold a function. What happens when a variable is declared with the same name in both the global scope and a local scope? Option A. The local variable shadows the global variable within that function. Option B. The JavaScript engine throws a duplicate variable error. Option C. The global variable is overridden permanently. Option D. The engine uses the global variable by default. The correct answer is A. This is known as variable shadowing. When the engine executes a function and looks for a variable, it starts with the most immediate, local, execution context. If it finds the variable there, it uses it and stops searching. The global variable of the same name still exists in the global execution context but is shadowed, inaccessible, within the local scope. What error is triggered if a recursive function creates too many execution contexts without a base case? Option A. Memory limit exceeded. Option B. Range error. Maximum call stack size exceeded. Option C. Type error. Stack overflow. Option D. Reference error. Stack not found. The correct answer is B. Every time a function calls itself, a new execution context is pushed onto the call stack. If the recursion doesn't have a stopping condition, base case, the stack continues to grow until it hits the hard limit set by the browser engine. This results in a stack overflow, specifically a range error in JavaScript. Which of the following defines lexical scope? Option A. Scope is determined at runtime based on the call stack. Option B. Scope is determined at the time of compilation based on where functions are nested. Option C. Scope changes dynamically based on the this keyword. Option D. Scope is only applicable to global variables. The correct answer is B. Lexical scope, or static scope, means that the scope of a variable is determined by its position within the source code. The inner functions have access to the variables of their outer functions based on how the code is written, not how or where the functions are called during runtime. Can an anonymous function be called before its definition in a variable? Option A. Yes. It is hoisted. Option B. No, because it is usually part of an expression and is not fully hoisted. Option C. Yes, if it is in a separate file. Option D. Only if using the async keyword. The correct answer is B. Anonymous functions are typically used as function expressions, assigned to variables. Because they are expressions, they follow variable hoisting rules. If assigned to var, they are undefined. If assigned to let or const, they are in the TDZ. In either case, you cannot call them before the line where they are defined. How many global execution contexts can exist in a single JavaScript program execution? Option A. 1 for every function. Option B. Exactly 1. Option C. As many as there are CPU cores. Option D. 1 for every variable. The correct answer is B. A JavaScript program always has exactly one global execution context. It is created when the script starts running and is only removed when the browser tab is closed or the process ends. All other execution contexts, function execution contexts, are created and destroyed as functions are called and return. Why do closures retain access to variables of an execution context that has already been popped off? The call stack? Option A. The call stack never truly removes the context. Option B. The inner function keeps a reference to its outer lexical environment in memory. Option C. The variables are automatically moved to the global object. Option D. The engine re-executes the outer function whenever needed. The correct answer is B. When a function is created, it closes over its lexical environment, even after the outer function's execution context is removed from the call stack. The inner function still holds a reference to the outer function's environment record. As long as the inner function exists, the engine keeps that specific environment in memory heap, preventing it from being garbage collected. Which of these creates a new lexical environment but not necessarily a new execution context? Option A. A function call. Option B. A block statement, e.g., if or for, using let const. Option C. The global script. Option D. An object literal. The correct answer is B. In ES6, let and const are block scoped. When an if block or for loop is entered, a new lexical environment is created for that block. However, it does not create a completely new execution context, which involves a full push to the call stack. Instead, the existing execution context manages these nested lexical environments. What is the order of execution for 1. Variable assignments, 2. Creation of this, 3. Function hoisting? Option A. 1 to 2 to 3. Option B. 3 to 2 to 1. Option C. 2 and 3. Creation phase. To 1. Execution phase. Option D. 1 and 2. Creation phase. To 3. Execution phase. The correct answer is C. During the creation phase, this binding and hoisting functions and variables occur. After these are established, the engine enters the execution phase, where it actually assigns values 1 to those variables and executes code. Therefore, creation-related tasks always precede assignment-related tasks. Which statement best describes the difference between scope and context? Option A. Scope is the same as this, and context is about visibility. Option B. Scope pertains to the visibility of variables, while context refers to the value of this. Option C. Context is only for global variables. Scope is for local. Option D. There is no difference. They are synonyms in JavaScript. The correct answer is B. In JS, scope refers to the accessibility of variables and functions in certain parts of the code. Context refers to the environment in which a function is executed, specifically determining the value of the this keyword. Confusing the two is a common mistake in JS terminology. How is the this value determined in an arrow function's execution context? Option A. It is bound to the global object. Option B. It is determined by how the function is called at runtime. Option C. It is lexically inherited from the parent execution context. Option D. It is always undefined. The correct answer is C. Arrow functions do not have their own this binding. When an arrow function is created, it captures the this value of the enclosing parent execution context. This is known as lexical this. This behavior is why arrow functions are particularly useful for callbacks and event handlers where you want to maintain the context of the class or outer function. During the creation phase, what value is assigned to variables declared with var? Option A, null. Option B, undefined. Option C, 0. Option D, the actual value in the code. The correct answer is B. For variables declared with var, the JavaScript engine allocates memory and initializes them with the primitive value, undefined. This is the mechanism that allows variables to be accessed before their declaration line without a reference error, though they return undefined. Which method is used to visualize the current state of the call stack in most browser consoles? Option A, console.log. Option B, console, trace. Option C, console, stack. Option D, console.dir. The correct answer is B. The console, trace method outputs a stack trace to the web console. It shows the path the execution took to reach the point where the console, trace, was called, effectively showing the current state of the call stack and the sequence of function calls. What happens in the execution context when you assign a value to a variable that hasn't been declared? E.g., my var equals 20. Option A. It throws a reference error in all modes. Option B. In non-strict mode, it creates a property on the global object. Option C. It creates a local variable in the current context. Option D. The line is ignored. The correct answer is B. In non-strict mode, if you assign a value to an undeclared variable, the engine checks the scope chain. If it reaches the global scope and still doesn't find it, it creates a new property on the global object window. In strict mode, this behavior is disallowed and will throw a reference error. My var is not defined. Which of the following is not part of an execution context state? Option A, variable environment. Option B, lexical environment. Option C, HTTP request headers. Option D, this binding. The correct answer is C. An execution context consists of the variable environment, lexical environment, and this binding. HTTP request headers are part of the browser web API environment, specifically related to the network layer, and have nothing to do with the internal JavaScript execution context state. What is the trigger for creating a new function execution context? Option A, defining a function. Option B, invoking, calling a function. Option C, declaring a variable. Option D, saving the JS file. The correct answer is B. A new function execution context is created only when a function is actually invoked or called. E.g., my function. Simply defining a function merely stores the function definition in memory during the creation phase of the current context. It doesn't create a new context until the code reaches the call site. At the very bottom of the call stack. Which context is always present as long as the application is running? Option A. The root function. Option B. The global execution context. Option C. The event loop. Option D. The anonymous context. The correct answer is B. The global execution context is the base context. It is the first thing pushed onto the call stack when the script begins. Since it represents the global scope where the script lives, it stays at the bottom of the stack until the program terminates or the environment is destroyed. That wraps up our 30-question deep dive into the JavaScript execution context. How many did you get right? If you struggled with concepts like hoisting or the temporal dead zone, don't worry. These are some of the most complex parts of the language and mastering them takes practice. If you found this video helpful, hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dive technical content. For more practice questions and a full certification prep, click the link in the description. For the complete practice exam suite and certificate of completion, check the link in the description below.